Okay. Say again?
Are we the old folks?
You know the answer to that is no. Why are you going to ask a question like that? Of course you're not. You don't want to know the question. The answer is just no. But she said, are we the old folks? No. No, we're not. These are the awesome seasoned folks. All right? They know when to hippo and when not to hippo. All right? They know when they can afford the chiropractor and when they can't afford the chiropractor. So glad that you're here. Thank you for being here, and I hope you're going to plan to be here all week. In here, the classes will be studying the same lessons, the David, Deborah, the Samson and Esther, same stories, same Bible stories that they're talking about. The children's classes we're going to be doing in here. Probably won't be doing any of the songs that they're doing in those classes. We'll let you stay seated and keep your Christian lights in your pockets. But we are going to be looking at these. And so once you get your Bibles and go to 1 Samuel chapter 17 to what is probably one of the most familiar stories in all of the Bible, right? I mean, if you say David and Goliath, are there people in the world that even know the story of David and Goliath? I mean, you ever been watching a game on television, football game, basketball game, whatever? Well, this is kind of a David and Goliath situation. Maybe talking about a short quarterback and a big rushing lineman. David. Why is this sportscaster talking about David and Goliath? Because folks know this story. That's interesting to me. In and of itself, that's interesting. There's parts of the Bible that even people that don't believe the Bible know are in the Bible. And hopefully that will just not be something that passes, but something that continues, that people they know these things, and maybe they don't realize it. And you're going to talk to people, what Abraham Lincoln talked about, that a house divided cannot stand. House divided against itself cannot stand. Oh, great quotation, Abraham. Let me write that one down. We're going to save that one for later. Good job. He stole it from Jesus, and Abraham Lincoln knew he was doing that, but people that didn't realize, that's a great saying. So anyway, people know the Bible even when they don't realize they know the Bible. But David and Goliath, some of you will disagree with this, but that's okay. You can repent. It's the best story. It's the best story in all the Bible. All right, it's truly the best story in there. I might have a little bias on that. Some of you might be named Daniel, and you might like something about lions. Because you got a little bias in there. Paul, no, it's David. It's about the missionary journeys. So I get it. You're going to have some bias, but that's all right. So, 1 Samuel chapter 17, obviously a very familiar passage. How many times have you read the story of David and Goliath? A lot. Is it a story we teach to our children? Yeah. It is a favorite vacation Bible school story. As many times you can throw it in there. How many lessons have you heard on David and Goliath? And you've had your fair share. Trish, how many lessons on David and Goliath have you heard? 60, 70, 80? Trish is like she's quoting 1 Samuel 17 in her head right now. So here we are talking about a very familiar text. But I want to see what we can draw out of this for application, not for the old folks, because there aren't any of those in this church. I'm convinced of that. But to see what can we draw from this as those who are seasoned in life. What can we draw out of this? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at three things tonight. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the champion. Then we're going to look at the cowards, and then we're going to look at the courageous. So if you know the story of David and Goliath, if I were to ask you who's the champion, you might be inclined to say David, because David won the battle. True. So all of that's true. But when you read through 1 Samuel 17, this word is used at least 3 times in 1 Samuel 17. You're going to read the champion, the champion, the champion. Is Muhammad Ali here? Who is this talking about? It's talking about Goliath. So when you read through here, you're automatically reading about, oh, wow, this guy, he's the champ. I mean, who's going to take him on? But I want you to see, what do we learn? What do we learn about this guy? Look at the first couple verses here. Just look at the circumstances that are described for us. The Philistines, the great enemy, as it were, of Israel. They're kind of their nemesis as you read through a lot of the history of Israel. The Philistines gathered their armies together to do what? They're coming to battle. They're not coming to have an ice cream social. They're coming to battle. And they're gathered at Succoth, which belongs to Judah. So what does that indicate? They're already in Judah territory. They're not in Switzerland where it's neutral. Okay, you got your side and your side. They're already in the homeland. They're already in Judah's territory. They encamped between Succoth and Azekah and Ephes, Damon and Saul and the men of Israel. That's the good guys were gathered together. So verse 1, Philistines are gathered together. Verse 2, the Israelites are gathered together. And they drew up in battle array against the Philistines. When you read that, what do you envision? They drew up in battle array. What do you envision? Are they dressed like you are tonight?
No.
Are they in their casual clothes?
No.
Are they ready for the beach? They're suited up. They've got armor on. They're ready to roll. That's interesting. You're going to read that again in this chapter. That's interesting. So they're they're soldiers against soldiers, armies against armies, and we're lined up here to do battle. So then the champ, and this story is about David and Goliath, but I don't even think you read the name David until you get to verse 12 or something. So the first 11 verses are kind of setting the stage for you, and before you ever read about David, you read about the champ. You read about the champion. What do we know about him? We know that he's got the skill of a champion. Look over in verse 33. What does it call him in verse 33? Saul is talking to David about him. What does he call him at the end of verse 33? He's a what? A man of war. We just mentioned the beach. Is that what it's talking about? He's a man of war. This guy's skilled. They're not just throwing a big guy out there. He is a man of war. He is skilled in what he's doing. He's got the size of a champion. How tall is he back in verse 4? How tall is he? The end of verse 4. 6 cubits and a span. What does that mean? What's a cubit? You got 6 cubits, which is usually defined from elbow to tip of finger. And in general, that's about 18 inches. But is that 18 inches on everybody? Luther, I dare say if you and I lined up together, I'd be 16 inches and you'd be 21. So it's different for everybody, but generally 18 inches. You know, sometimes they're going to say a cubit is 18 to 21 inches. Because, they're not Dirk Summerlot walking around with a tape measure on their belt. Can you imagine being Noah and Dirk walks over to him and says, here's a tape measure. And Noah would have been like, here's a blessing from God. But no, Noah's using a cubit. How long was the ark supposed to be that Noah built? 300 cubits long. And they didn't do this, all right? They had these measuring devices, but can you imagine being Noah? 1, 2. They didn't do that. They made measuring devices. But so you think it's 18 inches, but what if Noah had 21-inch arm? The ark just got longer. What if he used one of his son's arms and it was maybe 14 inches? Like, oh, come here, son. We're going to use your arm instead of using my arm. But so 300 cubits, 450 feet long. Anyway, back to Goliath. 6 cubits, roughly 9 feet. A span, distance from the tip of your finger to the tip of your thumb. This is a big dude. All right, so he's somewhere 9.5 feet, 9 feet 9 inches, or more, depending on that cubit. This right up here is 10 feet tall. When you get to that spot where that light is mounted, that's 10 feet. Can you imagine meeting a guy who's as tall as that soffit over there? I mean, have you met any tall people before? What's the tallest person you've ever met? What do you think? Tim Malbacher. Tallest, and I think Tim is 6'5". He might be 6'6". I can't remember. How tall is Tim? 6'8"? You sure about that? I wish Tim was here tonight. We'd measure him. All right, so he's not Goliath though, right? I mean, you walk up to Tim and you're like, yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Now, is he a small, is Goliath a slim guy, you figure? I mean, he's tall and slender. He's been watching his weight. What does it tell us that he's wearing? What verse is this? That he's wearing down in verse 5. A bronze helmet on his head. That'd be easy to wear, right? He was armed with a coat of mail. Your Bible have anything different than a coat of mail? Scale armor. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And you're like, yeah, of course it was. That's easy. That's what I weigh when I go to Publix. Is get 5,000 shekels. This is a coat of mail that's somewhere around 120 to 125 pounds. Sorry, doing math in my head is not sometimes a good thing to do. Could be as much as 150 pounds. So he's wearing that, all right? He's got a coat of mail. He's got a piece of armor that he's wearing that's, say, 120 to 150 pounds. Is that a lot? I'm just asking. Is that a lot to put on and to march out? I mean, if you were wearing 120 to 150 pounds on your shoulders, are you a small person? He's not some small dude. This guy is big, all right? And now, look verse 7. The staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam. And his iron spearhead, how much did the spearhead, so he's got this spear, how much does the spearhead weigh in verse 7? 600 shekels, somewhere around 20 pounds. So he's got this spear. Can you imagine? I mean, you think of a spear and how big is the head usually? That's kind of small. He's got a spearhead that's somewhere around 16 to 20 pounds. Can you imagine carrying that thing? I mean, what's 16 to 20 pounds? I mean, a child. You go, I buy a gallon of milk. How much does a gallon of milk weigh? 8 pounds. So you're taking 2 gallons of milk and you're sticking them out on the end of a spear. How long are you going to hold that one? This is a big, no wonder he's called the champion. No wonder the Philistines are like, yep, we're going to send Goliath out there. We have no fears at all. He's going out there. He's our champion. He's not going to lose. We have no worries at all, because you know what the deal is. The deal is that if Goliath wins, the defeated become the Philistine servants. But if they beat Goliath, okay, now the Philistines are there. Well, who's going to beat Goliath? And then he's got a sword. The Bible doesn't tell us how big his sword is. But I mean, if he's got a spearhead that's 16 pounds, I mean, how big is that sword? And we don't read about it until David kills him. And David comes to pick up his sword. We don't know, but how big do you take his sword to be? I don't know. I mean, you picture this being a decent size sword? In my mind, David's not just walking over to a little dagger and picking up. I mean, he's picking up a big piece of armor. Little old David. And he's chopping this guy. So here's a champ, no doubt. What's the point of all of this? Was he intimidating? Yeah. Do we face intimidating challenges in our lives? Oh, boy, that's so big. I don't know if I can get over that. I don't know if I can get through that. Has God seen challenges? Have God's people seen challenges before? Yeah, seen plenty of challenges. Anything too big for them? You know, we sang, only a little boy David. We don't know how little he was. I mean, we see him being kind of mocked here by both Saul and Goliath in this chapter. So we sing about only little boy David, but compared to Goliath, yeah, that's what he is. But his faith isn't looking at the size of the problem. How strong is our faith? How strong is our faith to say, it doesn't matter what I'm going to face. God is going to see me through this. Even if I don't know how. Even if I don't know how, God is going to see me through this. And so here's the challenge. And we already mentioned this, but here's the challenge. Look down at verse 8. Goliath stood, cried out to the armies of Israel, and he said to them, why have you come out to line up for battle? It's actually a pretty good question. Why had they? What are you doing here? You're not going to fight me. Why have you come out? Am I not a Philistine, and you're just the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able, can you hear a snickering? Can you hear that evil laugh behind it? If he's able, yeah, right. If he's able to fight me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. So verse 10, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. So that's what Goliath comes out and taunts God's people. I defy the armies of God today. And if you read throughout the rest of the chapter, at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 more times, you're going to see that word defy or defied again. What's he doing? He's defying God. He's defying the armies of Israel. How many times does he say this? Look down in verse 16. How many times does he say this? The Philistine, that's Goliath, drew near and presented himself how many days? 40 days. How often during those days did he present himself? Morning and evening. 40 days, in the morning and in the evening, Goliath comes out. And what we're going to see in a little bit, when David comes on the scene, he says the same thing. So how many times, up to this point in this story, when you get to verse 16, how many times had Goliath said those same words? 40 times to 80 times. 80 times Israel had heard those words. Every time I think about that, that just kind of blows me. 80 times. How long does it take you, listening to a song, your favorite song, how long does it take you to start singing along with the song? I mean, you hear a new song, Taylor Swift comes out with a new song, you're like, I got it, this is the one. How long does it take for you to learn the new song? I mean, you pull up the lyrics, and within a couple, Danette, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, within a couple times, you've got it. Because you've heard it over and over. You're like, I can do this one. How many of the Israelites do you suppose could say the words right along with Goliath? 80 times. Oh, heard this one before. I defy the armies of Israel. I mean, could they quote it? They could quote. Now, you might say, oh, that's good. No, that's not good. If they've heard it that many times, what does that indicate? They hadn't done anything. And that's why they're the cowards. They're the people of God, and yet 80 times they have allowed this man to defy God and defy his armies. And so look, they're aware of this. It's not like they're not aware of it. Look at verse 11. Saul and Israel heard these words of the Philistine. So it's not that they're unaware of it. David comes on the scene in verse 16 and 17. David comes on the scene, and they tell David, look at verse 25. The men of Israel said, have you seen this man who's come up? Surely he's come up to defy Israel. What is it? Well, they know. They know exactly, but yet it's not that they're just lost or haven't been paying attention. And they know the reward. It shall be, verse 25. It shall be, they're telling this to David. Hey, David, listen. If a man kills him, it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel. Sign me up, right? I mean, the IRS isn't going to bother me anymore. I don't have to write the IRS a check. Paul and Lisa are out of business. I mean, I'm not their client anymore. I'm not paying taxes. Hey, sign me up. Why is nobody stepping up to this? I mean, that's what the king has promised. Maybe his daughter's not so good looking. I mean, why hasn't anybody stepped up? Because they're cowards. They know exactly who this man is. They know exactly what he has said. They know the reward that's been offered, and yet they're cowards. And I mentioned this as we were coming through, but I just find it interesting how it says that they had drawn themselves up in battle array for 40 days. So on day 2, they get themselves dressed up in their army gear. All right, we're going to battle. Day 3, day 4, day 31, day 32. All right, guys, this is the day. They've been there a month, right? All right, guys, we're getting suited up. You're not going to do anything, you cowards. But yet, it's army versus army. What verse says that? When they've drawn up army against army. What verse is that? Down in verse 21, I think. For Israel and the Philistines had drawn up in battle array, army against army. Except one of these armies really isn't doing anything. They're cowards. They're chicken. Look at the end of verse 11. Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine. They were dismayed and greatly afraid. And so what did they do in verse 24? What did they do? They ran away. Do you have the picture here? 40 days. All right, guys, let's get suited up. We're going out to battle. We get out to battle. The giant comes out. He says his thing. We can quote it right along with him. We know what he's going to say. We're not going to fight him because I'm not going to be responsible for causing all of Israel to become slaves. And so they run away from him. All right, guys, let's go eat lunch. All right, it's evening time. Let's go back out. Here we go again. 80 times? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? They're chicken, yeah? Why are they chicken? What's wrong with these chickens? What are they missing? They're missing faith. Had Israel ever, in their history, in the history of Israel, had they ever seen the hand of God at work? Yeah, like all the time. Okay, but had they ever seen the hand of God at work in battle? I mean, it's one thing to see the hand of God. Okay, He gives us manna every day. All right, we get that. But had they ever seen the hand of God at work in battle? Let's see. There was something about the city of Jericho, and they marched around the city of Jericho for 7 days. And what happened to the walls on the seventh day? They fell. That's a normal military tactic, right? I mean, America sends out our troops, and we don't arm them. That's silliness. We're just going to tell them, march around the city, and it'll fall. That's a regular military tactic, right? No. God's at work. Oh, no, but here's one. So Gideon takes 300 men to fight the Midianites. 185,000 of them, 300, slightly outnumbered, but that's okay. Because on our side, the 300, we've got the weapons of war. I mean, we're going to annihilate them. They don't have these weapons going into war. So what are the 300? They've got 3 weapons they take with them into battle against 185,000. What are they? A pitcher, like what you pour water out of. You got it. It's a decent thing to have for battle, right? What else do they have? They've got a horn, right? They've got a trumpet. I mean, most armies are going to have a trumpet, but maybe not everybody, but okay. So they've got a pitcher, they've got a trumpet. What's the third? I mean, here it comes. I mean, their final weapon, what do they got? They've got a torch. A torch, a pitcher, and a horn. And where are they going to put the fire from that torch? Are they going to be holding it up? Oh, at first they're going to be hiding it inside the pitcher. That's a normal military tactic, right? I mean, you see that in history. I mean, you go back into the American Revolution, you go back into all of the great battles of history, and you see that all the time, right? Had Israel ever seen the hand of God in battle? Is one giant going to stop them? Is one giant going to stop God? No. These folks are a bunch of cowards. Let me ask you something. It is so easy for us to read a Bible story and to shake our fingers at them. Say, what's wrong with, come on. I mean, what do they do? Do we ever do that? I mean, we read about the apostles in the boat with Jesus, and they're in a storm. Jesus is asleep, but they're in a storm, and they're like, oh no, we're in a storm. And they go, Jesus, wake up, wake up, wake up. Don't you care that we're perishing? Seriously? You got Jesus in the boat, and you're scared? What's wrong with you? We shake our finger at people in the Bible. Oh, I can't believe they did that. Guess what? Guess where we would be? Guess where? We puff ourselves up sometimes. We would have been right there alongside them. Really? Who else was stepping up here? Not a single person. All right, so you got the champion, you got the cowards. All right, let's talk about David. You got the courageous man of David, and it's not who you expect. And in a story like this, this is the last person that you would expect to step up. But look, I want you to see just how God introduces David to us. Now, he was introduced to us earlier back in chapter 16, but I want you to see in this context how he is introduced. Look in verse 12. Now, David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem of Judah, Jesse. So Jesse's identified again. He's that man of Bethlehem of Ephraim. And how many sons did Jesse have in verse 12? 8 sons. He's got 8 sons. How old was Jesse? Mary? He was old. The Bible tells us, all right? So he was old, so we can say that. We're not being mean. The Bible says he was old. He was advanced in years. How many years is that? How many years do you have to be in the advanced category? I mean, some of us maybe haven't reached advanced. Maybe some of us, are on the just kind of that medium, mediocre, basic level, and we're working up to advanced. How old? Don't answer that question. How old do you have? Never mind. All right, so, but where does David, he's got 8 sons. Verse 14, where does David line up in all this? Of the 8, oh, he's the kid. He's the youngest. Oh, but the youngest, I mean, the youngest, the baby of the family is the best one, right? Just checking. Any babies in here? I mean, the baby of the family, best one. Baby can take care of everything. Baby's the most loved in the family, right? The baby is the one they've been waiting for all this time, and finally, and so that's why we don't have any more, because we finally got the one that we wanted. So, I mean, the baby is the perfect one. So, no, he's the youngest. He's not even out there in battle because it's his 3 older brothers, verse 13. It's his 3 older brothers who are out there. So, all right, so he's not in battle. So what does little boy David do? Oh, he's a shepherd. He's a shepherd. And look down what his oldest brother, verse 28. His oldest brother, when David gets there, his anger was aroused against David. Don't answer this out loud, but did you ever have a younger brother that you got mad at? Younger sister you got? So his anger is aroused against David. Why'd you come down here? Can you hear your brother saying that to you? Why'd you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? You little shepherd boy, you just got those. What'd you do with your little sheep, little shepherd boy? Yep. He's not much of anything. And what does he go to battle with? Verse 40, he's got a sling, 5 smooth stones. That kind of goes right in line with the marching around a city. Goes right in line with a pitcher and a torch and a trumpet. And now this boy is going to go into battle against this giant with a sling. That's going to be a winner. No, God's setting the stage. Why is God setting the stage this way? He's setting the stage this way to let us know God's in control. That the victory that's going to take place here, the victory that took place at Jericho, who was responsible for that victory at Jericho? Duh. Who was responsible for the victory of Gideon over the Midianites? Hello? That 300 against that? No. Who is responsible for every victory that Judah, Israel had? Yeah, it was God. So here he is, this boy walking out against this giant. God's setting the stage to let us know, yeah, there's a great contrast here, but it's intentional. Could God have used Eliab? Could God have used Saul? Won the battle, won the victory, here we go, we keep marching on. God could have used anybody. Why does he use David? Well, he's got to introduce him into the story. He could have introduced him in the story any way that he wanted. He did it back in chapter 16. Why does he have to use David? To prove to us God's got this. Whoever we are, whatever we're going through, however little we feel that we are, however insignificant we feel that we are, however out of control our life might seem, and however we feel that we can't handle something, what's the deal here? David's not your normal guy that you're expecting to do something here. That's okay. Because it's not David who's going to win this battle. It's God who's going to win this battle. And so you look at this, you look at his character. And he's entered, again, God's just kind of telling us about this boy, this man, before he does anything. He tells us about him and tells us that he was he has eagerness. Verse 20 says he rose early in the morning. Can you imagine? He's going out to the battlefield. He gets up early. He's eager. He's a responsible person. When Eliab asks us what he do with his sheep, well, he left his sheep, verse 20, with a keeper. He didn't just run off and not be responsible. And he's respectful. He went just as his father Jesse had commanded him. So here's a man of responsibility, a man of respectfulness. That's godly character. And very quickly, I want to get to this point because I want to spend our last 11 minutes talking a little bit about his courage. But look at how David responds. Verse 22, he gets to the battlefield. Verse 21, Israel and Philistines had drawn up in battle array, army against army. Verse 22, David had arrived. He left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper. He ran to the army. He came and greeted his brothers. You think he knew his brothers didn't like him? Hello? Now, I know some little brothers are oblivious and they don't understand. You think he realized his brothers didn't? He's respectful even to his brothers who are stinking brothers who didn't like him. Verse 23, then as he talked with them, I want you to imagine this. Hey guys, how you doing? Hey guys, hey, I brought you some stuff from Dad. Here you go. Dad's thinking about you. Here's a care package from Dad. And as he's talking to him, to his brothers, where am I? Verse 23, there was the champion, one of the 3 times I think he's called that, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines. And he spoke according to what? Same words. And David heard them. Everybody else had heard them 80 times. For all we know, this is the first time David. So for everybody else, it's kind of old hat. Yeah, here we go again, blah, 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 da, da, da. All right, we're done. Go back to your camp, we'll go back. It's the first time. You remember the first time you heard? Everybody else knew it. Everybody else already understood, but it's the first time you, what? What? No, we don't do this. And that's what you see in this man of courage. That's what you see in this man when he hears this. He says, wait a minute. That's what he's saying? That's what he's saying to us? He hears all of these same words. And so he goes in verse 26. He spoke to the men who stood by him after he hears this taunt from Goliath. And he says, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? Now, we already read verse 25 where they already told him. They just told him in verse 25, whoever kills this guy, the king is going to exalt him and give him great rewards. In verse 26, David says, what's going to happen for the guy who kills? We just told you. Is David thick? Why is he asking the question? I think he's asking the question to see if these guys are thick. Why is he asking? Do you guys not understand what's going on here? Do you not understand the rewards? So you're letting this man defy the armies of God, and do you even know what the rewards are yourself? And yet, he also knew the ramifications. You keep reading. For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? So the people answered him in this manner, saying, so shall it be done for the man who kills him. Here comes David on the scene. I love the way that God introduces David. It's not just that, God could have said, here comes David, the son of Jesse. He gets his sling, he throws it up, and he kills him and cuts off it. All right. Great is David, great. He sets the scene for us to show us just how God is going to use him. So 9 minutes here. 9 minutes to talk about David's courage. And I want you to make application of each of these as we go, and we won't have time to talk about each one of these in detail, but I want you to think about David's courage and say, do I have this kind of courage? And if you want to insert the word faith here to talk about that, you can. If you want to insert the word trust here, you can do that. But I want you to see, David's not going to let anything stop him. He's a man of courage. Look at verse 28 and 29. David handles and overcomes his brother's criticism. Remember what Eliab says to him. His brother is aroused with anger, verse 28. Why'd you come here? Look at the end of verse 28. I know your pride and the insolence. Can you just hear the attitude behind this? You've come down to see the battle. And so David says to him, did you ever say this to your brother or sister? What did I do? What I do now? What did your kids ever say this? Did your kids ever start fighting? What I do? It wasn't me, it was him. What I do now? David's just saying, look, I'm here. His brother's criticizing him. Did you ever have somebody criticize you? How does David handle it? He doesn't let it stop him. Do we ever let criticism stop us? Probably a lot. He doesn't let the criticism stop him. He could have heard his brother said, okay, never mind. I'll go home. It's okay. No. He overcomes it. That's a man of courage. Keep reading. He turned from him, verse 30, toward another, and David says the same thing. And these people answered him just as his brother had. Verse 31, now when the words which David spoke were heard, they reported them to Saul. And so Saul sent for him. And then David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of this giant. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. What does courage do? It rises to the challenge even when nobody else will. Who's David? He's a nobody. What's everybody else doing about this? Nothing. There's something that needs to be done in the church. Who's going to, I don't see anybody else handle it. He rises to the challenge. He's going to take care of it. Verse 33. Saul said to David, you're not able to go against this Philistine to fight him. Why? Because you are a what? You're just a kid. You're a youth. And he's a man of war. So not only has his brother insulted him and mocked him, now he's got the king. You think David looked up to the king? You think he respected him? He's the king. So you think he's somebody that he holds at least in some level of respect, and now the king is mocking you. Okay, well, my brothers don't want me here. The king doesn't. Fine. No. Not even somebody that's highly revered is going to stop him from doing what he knows needs to be done. Verse 34. David said to Saul, your servant, that's me, used to keep his father's sheep. And you know what? Yeah, I was a shepherd boy, but when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it and struck it and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard and struck and killed it. Why is he telling this? Is he bragging on himself? No. Your servant has killed both lion and bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. David's not bragging on himself. He's bragging on what God has done with him. He has seen God at work in his life, and he says, you know what? God's been at work in my life. He's going to keep doing it. Can we not do the same thing? God's been working with, God's been helping. Why am I going to doubt God now? I'm in a fix right now. I'm in a real pickle right now. But you know what? God has seen me through things before this. He's going to see me through this too. That's what a person of courage does. When he's calling him you see that's the second time he calls him an uncircumcised Philistine. He's not there talking about his anatomy. He's talking about, he's not one of us. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in the God. He doesn't worship God. He doesn't know the God. He doesn't know the God that we know. How can we be so cowardly in the face of this guy who doesn't know the God that we know? And so he defends the honor of God. Look at the end of verse 36. When the Philistine came out, he says, I defy the armies of Israel. Who does David say he's defying at the end of verse 36? He's not just defying us. He's defying God. When somebody comes at you, what did Jesus say? He rejects me, he rejects you, rejects me, he rejects me, rejects him who sent me. Jesus says it goes all the way up the ladder. And if they're going to reject you, it goes all the way to the throne of God. You're in good company. That's okay. Verse 37, moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion. Here he is talking about the providence of God. He's going to deliver me from this guy. Verse 38, Saul clothed him in his armor. Can you picture this? Little old David with Saul's armor on him, and how silly that must look. What did David say about the armor? Not this. All right, well, what armor are you going to wear? God. I'll just have God go with me. All right, so David, what weapons are you going to take? I'm going to take a sling, and I'm going to take some stones. David, it's more than that. You got to do more than that. No, God's plan's pretty simple. We complicate it. God's plan's pretty simple. And if I just do what God says God wants me to do, God's going to take care of it. So you get down to verse 42. So his brother mocked him. The king mocked him. He gets out to Goliath. What's Goliath going to do? Can you imagine being David? Everybody's got it out for him. Verse 42, Philistine looked and saw David. He disdained him. For he was, same thing Saul said, he's only a youth, ruddy and good looking. So the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you've come to me with sticks? And he didn't just curse David, he cursed David by his gods. So he's calling down curses on David by his idols, which are nothing. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and he threatens him. You come over here, boy, and I'm going to give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. David says, all right, no biggie. I'll take care of this. So David said to the Philistine, you come to me, verse 45, with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day, verse 46, the Lord will deliver you into my hand. I will strike you and take your head. Can you imagine being Goliath and hearing this? What? You're going to do what? I'm going to take your head from you. This day I'm going to give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air. You said you're going to give me the birds? No, I'm going to give the armies of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that I am something great and I beat Goliath. Right? No. So all the earth will know that God, remember, God sets the stage here so that we know when we read it, God's in control. But David doesn't miss that point. David says, Goliath, you need to know that you're going to die today because of God. When you go back and read through Goliath's taunts, 81 times, I think it's 7 times that in his taunt you're going to read the word I. 7 times Goliath says I. You read David's words to Goliath 7 times. I think you can go and count them. 7 times he says, Lord, 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 Lord. You see a difference? What does this arrogant one do? It's all about him. What does this humble shepherd boy do? It's all about God. And I wish we had time to finish these. 12, 13, 14, 15. I got them all up there. Fears no evil because he's eager to defend God. Courage is something that you know it. When you see it, it brings victory and it motivates other people. For 40 days, the cowards, we're men of war. You're sorry so-and-sos. That's what my basketball coach used to call us. Sorry so-and-sos. They're a bunch of sorry so-and-sos. They're nothing. This little shepherd boy comes out. He takes him down with a sling. Are they mocking David anymore? No. They say, no, well, he's just showing off. What did the army of Israel do? in verses 52 and 53. They start chasing after the Philistines. I want you to see the contrast, and we're closing. 80 times they came up to Goliath. He taunts them, and 80 times, what did verse 24 say? Oh, we can't do this. And they run away. David comes up and kills him. They're not running away anymore. Now they're chasing the enemy. Guess what you need to be? You need to be the one that's going to take on challenges and help other people to see we don't need to be afraid of these things. God's on our side. And by that, be able to motivate other people instead of running away from our challenges, instead of running away from our fears, instead of running away from the enemy, say, you know what? If God be for us. You know the rest of that verse? Does the Bible answer? That's a rhetorical question. You know why? You know the answer. There's not a single person that can be. Let's close with a prayer.